Hi, this channel is about documenting things I learn along the way as I'm building something on my Triumphs, and today I'm working on my TR6 engine rebuild. Specifically, we're going to cover a TSI 275.6 cam degreeing process. We're going to look at a number of factors for this, but this is only to this particular cam. Other cams would be done differently. Some things that we're going to cover today too are I made this extension for my dial indicator so I could reach down into the lifter hole there. I thought that was kind of interesting. I had to elongate the holes in the cam gear to make it fit correctly. We'll cover that. I did try a Powertune vernier adjustable cam gear. We'll look at why I chose not to use that. And again, I just want to reiterate that the process I'm going to show you today is the one that's specifically to the TSI 275.6 cam. I did talk with Ted at TSI. I showed him what I did and sent him a video. He said I did it right. So I'm hoping that it came across correctly. And I did do it right. We'll find out when I start it, right? It encourages me when you click on the like button or you subscribe to the channel. It encourages me to take a little bit more time on these videos to explain it rather than just do a journal, which is what I originally intended to do. Well, let's get going. Here are the instructions that came with TSI's 275-6 cam. So the intake opens at 6 degrees before top center at 0.05, checking clearance. So what this means is that the intake valve, you should have the cam lift 0.05 inches at 6 degrees before top dead center. I broke that down into the steps. First, I'm going to align the flywheel to top dead center mark per the manual 1241.05, step 67. Install the degree wheel and pointer. Set 0 degrees to top dead center on the pointer, and then rotate to 6 degrees before top dead center. After that, on cylinder number 1 intake, which is the second valve in, we're going to set the cam to 0.05 inch lift with the dial indicator, and then we're going to install the cam gear and chain. So first off, we're going to line the flywheel to top dead center mark per the manual and so on. So in the manual, they have you scribe top dead center on the flywheel to a scribe line in the rear engine plate. If you look at the original flywheel, here you see there are the 3 lines where they found top dead center, or somebody did at some point anyway. There's a scribed line. Another way of doing it is using a degree wheel. I'm going to do both. So the way the manual has you do top dead center is you they have the dial indicator on piston number 6, but 6 and 1 move identically. So top dead center on 6 is the same as top dead center on 1. They have you turn the flywheel all the way around until number 1 or number 6 just reaches the highest point on the dial indicator, and then you mark the flywheel, and then you turn it counterclockwise the other way until it just barely hits the highest point again, and you mark it on the other, and then you split the difference, and that's your top dead center mark. Right. So going counterclockwise, I've set this up so I've messed with it a couple times. 0 is right on top dead center. There's a little pause in the action right at top dead center as it goes over the top, so I'll just bring it right to 0. Then I'm going to come around, and I have made a jig like this out of a piece of, I think that's a piece of threshold. Here we go. There's a scribe line right there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to line that up with the scribe line. And I'm going to mark going counterclockwise. Now I'm going to go clockwise. There we go. Now we'll take our jig, set it in place right against that scribe line, like that, and we'll mark our line. There we go. Those marks are very, very close together. Here's the jig I made out of a piece of, I think it's old aluminum threshold, and I can just set it on here, line it up to the scribe line, and bisect the two lines, and that shows me that I'm right on. Installed my degree wheel, and I set it to 0 with the top dead center already set in the back, based on the 0 alignment on the back. So I set it top dead center this way, then I set it to 0 here, and now I'm going to check it by turning it clockwise all the way and counterclockwise all the way, each to the piston stop. If it's right, it should be the same number to the right as it is to the left. So what we're going to do now is check top dead center again, only we're going to use a piston stop and a degree wheel to do it. What I'm going to do is, I thought about making I have a video on a piston stop using a spark plug, but we don't have the head installed yet. So I'm going to make I made a piston stop a little bit differently. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a brass nut that I cleaned in a welding magnet, and I'm going to use that, make sure all the rivets are set in, and I'm going to use that to be my stop. So when that piston comes up and hits, it should stop. But let's see, let's make sure it stops here. Yeah, it stopped it. Oh yeah, it stopped it and then it lifted it. So I should be able to manage that. So there's my one stop. So we'll go ahead and using that, and I'll put my hand on here to keep it down. We'll go ahead and do it with the degree wheel. So we're going to go first. We're going to go this way, and we are let's see. Do that again, and we are stopped right at kind of funky. Okay, we're stopped right there at 33 degrees. Now we're going to go all the way around the other way. And we are stopped again right at 33 degrees. So that tells me that I set this correctly. And the reason I did it both ways is I've set my degree wheel to 0, and I've come back and I've compared where my two scribe lines are here to against the mark in the engine plate, and it lines up. So my 0 degrees on the cam degree wheel are correct. A better way to do a piston stop on these would be to unscrew these a bit and use the nuts and on either side, and then put a piece of flat bar across. Put a piece of flat bar across here and have it actually stop on that brass nut. I checked it multiple times, and the way I was doing it was working just fine. And now, as part of step 2, we've installed the degree wheel, and the pointer set 0 to top dead center, which we just did. Now we're going to rotate 6 degrees before top dead center. Oh, big breaker bar is a little easier, a little more control. So perfectly at 6 degrees before top dead center. So our next step on cylinder number 1, intake, which is the second valve in, set the cam to 50 thousandths to set the cam and set this at 0.050 lift. And I was thinking I'd set it up using a push rod, and I've seen where people have made a jig for this with the hole in it and all that. Maybe cut a push rod off to make the jig, whatever. I decided, got thinking about it. I remembered my dad's old dial indicator, and that he had made an extension for him. This little tip comes off. So on my dial indicator, the tip comes off. So what I decided to do instead of that push rod is to make an extender for it. I had some old aluminum tubing. So this is the aluminum tubing I'm using, 1/8 inch by 0.014 here, and I cut a piece of thread that'll thread into the end of the dial indicator here, and a screw on this side. I'll thread it into this side to serve as the replacement for that end of the dial indicator. So I'm going to make this extension and see if that works. I have set up my dial indicator. This is number 1. This is the second lifter, and I've got my extension on there. So I've set this up so it's 0 without being on the lifter. I'm going to slowly turn it clockwise, and we're going to turn it till it's at 50 thousandths. And you can see now, so here I am at 6 degrees before top dead center, and the closest I can get my lift is at 40 thousandths. I have tried turning flipping the cam gear, 90 degrees, 90 degrees, 90 degrees, and so on. I know it's only need to flip it once. I've tried moving the chain one link here, one link there. No matter what I do, I cannot get this set up so that it's at 50 thousandths. So the question then is, how far off am I? How many degrees off am I? So I'm going to go ahead and turn this to the till it's at 50 thou. There, perfectly at 50 thou. So let's see what my degree wheel says I'm at. I am at about 2 degrees before top dead center. So I am off 4 degrees. In the competition preparation manual on page 13, 20 degrees off usually indicates that you should rotate the timing wheel to the alternate set of bolt holes. 4 to 5 degrees can be picked up by elongating the holes in the timing wheel. I also measured 1 tooth of changing the timing chain. 1 tooth of the crank gear moved at 17 degrees. Moving the 1 tooth on the chain on the cam gear ended up 8 to 9 degrees, and that makes sense if you do the math. So the closest I could get it at 50 was about 3.5, 4 degrees. So I want this to be going this way. I want it to be at 6 degrees while this stays where it is. This needs to stay where it is. This needs to move this way. So that means that as this moves this way and this stays where it is, I have to grind on this side and this side. Is that right? This moves this way. I need this to stay where it is, so I need it to be relieved on this side. So I'm going to grind a little bit here and here and see if I can get that extra 2 degrees. To elongate these holes, I'm simply taking a circular file and I'm going and I put a socket on there and I drew a circle around there to kind of give me an idea of which side of the hole to, where on the hole to elongate it. So anyway, let's give it a try now. Okay, I fit it back on, and one thing I'm doing is taking a screwdriver and adjusting the pushing on the cam, so getting it to 50 again. There we go. Now I'm going to take this screw and see if it'll go in without adjusting that 50. Bolt, I said screw, it's bolt. No, needs a little more grinding. Okay, let's try it again. We're at 50, we're at 6 before top dead center. That's better. If you do a quick DuckDuckGo search on degreeing a Triumph TR6 cam, you'll find a bunch of videos and different things on it. A friend of mine, Emil, has a good video on it that's particularly complicated and is very complex and uses lots of custom tools and things. I really like this video. Another one, a channel I really like, is the Rusty Beauties, and he goes through and degrees a cam on his channel too. So, and one last final check. We're going to take our degree wheel back to about 40. Okay, check. I know top dead center. I know it should stop at about 33. Yeah, right on 33. Yeah, right on 33. So now 6 degrees before top dead center is right there, and we are perfectly at 50. I think that I've got it. Oh, one last check. I'll take it all the way back, and it hits at 0. So I know that's right. So why didn't I use a vernier gear? Well, when I found that I could install it with just a little filing elongation of the holes, this isn't necessary. These cost about $150. I did a whole separate video on this particular Powertune gear. You might want to see why I am hesitant to recommend the Powertune version of this anyway. Well, we've successfully degreed this cam. I hope you enjoyed the video. I want to hear about what you're doing, so add some comments in there. Tell me what you're doing, what you learn, what you know about this. It helps me. If you enjoy it and want to encourage me to make more of these, like and subscribe. Thank you for watching.